Hello and welcome to the Videotero weekly vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Stick with us for a few seconds and we'll talk about how important your brand's consistency is.
Today we're going to talk about our top 5 tips for crucial brand consistency. And number 1, establish and communicate your brand message. It's important to do both. First you establish, then you communicate. Number 2, express your brand personality. Personality, your voice, how you are, what you want people to think of you. Number 3, create branding standards. Those are your branding elements such as your fonts, your colors, and so on. Number 4, uniformity across all channels. You want to make sure that you appear on all platforms as your company and so that people can recognize that you are the one and same. And number 5, promote positive associations. You want people to associate your brand with positive experiences.
I do want to point out that a business of any size has the ability to establish and maintain a brand. You don't have to be a big business to be a branded business.
Number 1, establish your brand message. Your brand message should be clear, compelling, unique, believable, and delivered at each point of customer contact. So if your brand message is, I want to bring socks to the world, well, you need to deliver that message, and that's very clear, isn't it? That I'm bringing socks to the world, the whole world, and that it's compelling. Wow, you're going to bring socks to the whole world, really? And unique. Well, who else is bringing socks to the whole world? I mean, really? And believable. Yeah, I think you can do that. And is it delivered at each point of customer contact? Well, that could be anywhere from the radio to your YouTube channel to magazines or radio. It could be anywhere. As long as they know that your company is bringing socks to the world, then they know it's you.
At this stage in the branding life cycle, I tell people to remember the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, and communications. The clarity is defined not by you, but by your marketplace. They need to understand and they need to believe exactly what your brand is all about. Let me give you an example. If I use the phrase Mercedes-Benz, you're going to know exactly, it's going to have already established some sense of what Mercedes-Benz means in your own mind. It's very clear what they represent. They message you consistently, and they look for a variety of ways to communicate with you, and they're always on the leading edge of the communications channels. Clarity, consistency, communications.
And in putting your brand message together, you want to make sure you consider, who am I? Who is my customer? What is my brand? And how does that represent me?
And that in that Venn diagram, the relationship between yourself and your prospective customer represents, that important part of how they see you. And that's key to remember. A lot of companies make the mistake of establishing a brand that they think is okay for them without ever testing it on their client base. And so there comes a time where you need to communicate what you believe your brand is or would like to be to your client base, maybe in the form of focus groups, and figure out how they feel about it, because they may not see you in exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, connecting the dots between your mission or your message and your target audience. I'm going to let Toby take this one.
All right, so if we start in the end, the strategy begins right over here, where you decide exactly what your communications challenge is. And we're not talking about products, services, company, employees, none of those things, just what is my communications challenge? How, what is it? And you ask all those journalistic questions: who, what, where, when, and most importantly, why. Which I don't always recommend asking, but in this case you do. And then as you go through this process of developing, you explore the various opportunities and extract from them what you believe are the ones that are ideal for your messaging, how you're going to communicate yourself to your audience. Now, that exploration could include testing. It could include focus groups, but the important thing is that you don't make any assumptions without communicating with your prospective client base. you've got to talk with them as you're going through this development process, unless you're a well-established brand like McDonald's. They already know who they are, but I guarantee you at the beginning of all that, they experimented, translated into the eventual visual design for how your brand is represented. And it's really more than just a visual design. We're going to look at, in just a moment, at all the elements that are required, required to consider when you're getting into the design phase, and then execute, and then see whether or not, and again, this is another testing period. Once you've executed, you're going to test which of your communications channels and messages are most effective, and then come back and retool them, I guess is the best word, as needed to get to where you need to be when you established your communications challenge up here.
Okay. Number 2, express your brand personality. This is the brand spectrum, and it's basically giving you an idea of who you could be as a brand. Some brands might be personable and friendly, fly the friendly skies. I won't go into that. Corporate and professional. Corporate and professional. We're very serious here, and we take your business very seriously because we're serious banks. Things of that nature, especially places that are handling your money. You want them to be serious. You want them to be professional. Spontaneous and high energy might be great if you're dealing with an entertainment sort of venue. Careful thinking and planning. You definitely want that with a financial planner, an accountant, anybody dealing with your money again. Modern or high tech. Well, of course, your gadgets, your Best Buy, your Amazon, you've got, Apple products, things of that nature. They all have that sort of, we are cutting edge. We have all great products coming out all the time, and they do the cutting edge technology. Or you can go classic and traditional again, more of maybe lawyers or somebody who you really need to be staid and traditional, and they're going to be there, be reliable. Leading edge, again, very similar to the modern or high tech, but always presenting the most up-to-date information, such as Videotero, a marketing company, would be leading edge. Established. Well, we've been doing business in sliced bread since 1912. We are established. So, of course, you want to go to, say, Oro Week, because they've been around for a long time. Fun. Well, who could be more fun than, say, Southwest Airlines, when you get on and the flight attendants are singing the little songs and everybody's having fun.
And they wear flair.
They wear flair. As do some of the restaurants you see, where they invite you to bring in a big group of people and have a lot of fun at their restaurants. Serious. Well, maybe you want to go to a quiet restaurant where you're going to do business and you want to be very serious, so you might lean towards that. Accessible. Easy to get to. We have great parking. We're easy to find. Everybody can get right here. And upscale. Well, very posh, and like there's your Mercedes-Benz again.
Mm-hmm. And the important thing to remember that this is not only a horizontal spectrum, but it's a vertical spectrum as well. So what I'll challenge you to do at this point is start as you get advertising on your as you're navigating your internet and you're presented various ads, take a look at each of those companies and see where they position themselves in these various areas. There's nothing that prevents them from being on the spectrum at various points along both the horizontal and the vertical spectrum, so you can be fun and accessible. Uncle Cliff's, fun and accessible. McDonald's, accessible and maybe careful thinking and planning. So there are various ways to, what you're going to end up doing basically is making a graph as you go down the spectrum and across the spectrum to determine exactly what kind of brand you want to be and how you identify yourself. That also means that you don't necessarily have to take all of them. There's nothing that prevents you from being fun and upscale at the same time. that's actually a very good market right now because it attracts those are very much designed for the millennials market. So consider what other companies doing and where they fit in on this spectrum from your perspective, and then kind of decide where do you want to be on both the horizontal and the vertical spectrum.
And you may be thinking, I'm just a one-person company or I'm a small company, but let me share something from Sunny Bonnell, the co-founder of Motto. And she says, the earlier on in your company's journey that you can uncover your brand's true identity, the character your brand is meant to live out, the sooner your team can begin living it and leaving a lasting impression in your audience's minds.
And she's good with that statement, the earlier the better. And the reason, there are more than one reason that it establishes your place in the market. You've got to remember that your place in the market also includes prospective employees. So one of the things that you want out of your brand is to be able to tell as you grow your prospective employees exactly what your company represents. Because if you don't know, it's going to make them uncomfortable. They're not going to be sure whether this is the right company for them. But if you can go through the spectrum and explain in 30 seconds or less exactly what kind of company you're trying to build, not only are you going to attract customers, but you're going to attract some of the best employees.
This is about brand voice. I'm just going to reiterate a few things that at the heart of every great brand is a great story. Nike's story is about triumph over adversity. Disney's story is about the power of imagination. Apple's story is about beautiful design that empowers people. And as Simon Sinek put it, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
And from their perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you build your brand voice graph or chart, start out with a spreadsheet. And along the y-axis, you're going to put your urgency from very high down at the bottom, which never made any sense to me, to very low. And then across the x-axis, you're going to put the media opportunities, the channels that you have opportunity for, from the very narrowest to the very broadest. And what you're going to do is you fill this in for yourself, and all in consideration of two important things, your budget and your expected ROI. You should have a good sense of that. You're going to start looking at this from your corporate image perspective all the way down to products, which is the range of urgency. Is it more important for you to get your products noticed, or is it more important for you to get your company noticed? And we have a couple of questions right now on Videotero about that. And then how you're going to channel that out from all the way from premiums, which are very narrow. You have to hand a person basically a premium, all the way to broadcast, which is the very widest broadcast. Someplace in between, you're going to find all that e-marketing. And as you fill in the boxes, and just fill them in with the color for right now, what you're going to find is that the density of your marketing strategy is going to start developing. And the density will fall into certain places on here. If your marketing strategy is long and narrow, it's probably not a good marketing strategy. If it's long this way, in the vertical direction, same thing. What you want to find is a location here where your marketing strategy will work the best for your company, your product line, and your prospective customers. So what you're going to look for is what I call density. Now, the density might be up here, the density might be down here, it might be here, but if you're spread either this way and it's narrow, this way and it's long and tall, then you probably don't have a solid handle on your marketing strategy.
Number 3, create branding standards. So these are elements of branding, anywhere from patterns, logo, language. And when they use language, it might be something specific to your company that in this case, they have McChicken, Egg McMuffin, Big Mac. Everybody knows what that is, but it is language that is specific to McDonald's. Sound or music, if you hear a certain sound, my Samsung washer and dryer makes certain sounds when they go off. I know that's a Samsung. And Intel has a certain sound when the computer boots up. Scent. So, of course, that's a lot of products have a great scent to them and that is so tied to your memory so that whenever you smell it, you remember.
Do you know what that product is?
I don't.
It's Tiger Balm.
Tiger Balm.
Do you remember what it smells like?
No.
Okay.
I've never used it. Taste, so that could be anything fizzy or sweet or, specific, very specific taste. And as you recall, probably when Coke tried to go and change their formula, everybody was very upset about that. They changed it right back because taste is so important to people. Physical interface, so you have all the different fun devices and gadgets. Color, font, tagline, I'm loving it. And that's wonderful. If you have a line that's not only a line, but you combine it with the music, people are singing your jingle. Shape, everybody knows the shape of a Coca-Cola bottle. And symbol, everybody knows the Nike symbol. And patterns, so that's a Coach bag, everybody knows that. And these are your branding standards or elements. And you get to choose, and you have to choose. And you need to know what they are, and you don't vary once they're in, you write them in stone.
So we just did a promotional video for Ronald McDonald House Charities of New Mexico. And when we entered into the relationship with us, the first thing they handed us was their branding manual. And their branding manual basically told us what imagery had to appear in any video that was done for them, what fonts would be expected to use, how the logo would be placed, not only how, but where and when. And so it is I'm going to guess, around a 50-page manual that explains very clearly how they use their brand elements. And whether it's the logo, the imagery, in their case, there's no smell involved. There is a tagline. There is a font that they insisted on us using. And so I'm not suggesting that you need a 50-page manual to describe the elements that make up your font, but you should think about it because that all has potential when you measure your marketability. The Coca-Cola shape, the two most well-known brands in the world are McDonald's and Coca-Cola. And both of them have a sense of shape. When you see the McDonald's golden arches, you know what you're going to get. And when you see that Coca-Cola bottle, you know what you're going to get before you even open the bottle. So each of these has a component. They may not all relate to you. You may not be a Tiger Balm kind of business, so you're not going to have a scent associated with it. But you should consider, and especially when you use these images and elements on your website, and the other, there should be some level of consistency between your website, between how you brand yourself on your social media, and whether you, like us, make a video. It better look pretty much the same from channel to channel. Because
you want people to be able to recognize that is you, that is your branding, and that is from you. Whether your brand appears on video or image or not, they should be able to say, I know who that is.
And remember, this is an emotional thing. So the better branding you have, and that branding is associated with a quality service or product, if all I show you is a Mercedes-Benz symbol, there's some emotions associated with that, most of them good. You may never have owned a Mercedes-Benz and known what a pleasure it is to drive a Mercedes-Benz, but you know what it represents. And there's an immediate desire, boy, I like those Mercedes-Benz. Have you seen the new convertibles, et cetera, et cetera? So you've got to remember that a lot of brand, especially when you're B2C, selling to consumers, is associated with emotion and how they feel about who you are, whether or not they've actually purchased and or used your product or service.
So brand identifiers, once we see them enough, they become instantly recognizable, bringing us a clear sense of reliability and security. So when I see that, I know it's Spotify. I know how I feel about Spotify. If I've used it in the past, then I know exactly how it works. And if I want to use it or not, I see it, I know it, and I rely upon it.
A good example in this area, especially when it comes to brand recognition, are the fast food restaurants, because you can name, Wendy's and its brand, McDonald's and its brand. You know what you're going to be getting. In Wendy's, it's as simple as the square-shaped hamburger. Burger King for years had used their Burger King icon person And apparently somebody decided finally to do a test and found out that it tested horrendously.
The guy with the giant king head?
Yeah, exactly. So they actually dropped him after using him for years and years and had better response. Now they use people wearing the crown rather than the Burger King intrudingly getting into the commercial. So, there's a lot of competition for the brand space. Sometimes the brand space is more competitive than the actual market space. You probably, as a small business, won't run into that challenge, but it's important to establish a brand early on because, as Shelley said before, the earlier you establish the brand, the easier it's going to be for your prospective market to recognize who and what you are.
Number 4, uniformity across all channels. Compatible content that reinforces your story and values across the various platforms on which your audience engages with you. And I was just talking about that. No matter where you put your content, people should recognize it with or without your logo on there. You should be able to convey your brand through your tone, what people are seeing in your image or your video, and they should know that that's about you and your company and your brand because it's uniform. No matter where you put it, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, no matter where they see that content, they should be able to know that it's your brand.
This becomes ever more important when social media becomes the primary channel for most of your market. As little as 20 years ago, you had the benefit, whether you were a large company or small, of a 60-second commercial in which to communicate your product, services, and primarily your brand on TV, which everybody would watch. Now, with social media network and people literally switching from one social media channel to another in a very short period of time, you've got 3 seconds at best. And then you've got, we used to say there was a 3:33 rule. And the 3 seconds was, you got 3 seconds to get them with a headline, 30 seconds to get them with the sub headline, which is, a paragraph or so, and then 3 minutes to get them with a body copy. You don't even have that. You got 3 seconds to capture them and 30 seconds to hook them, if you will. There's probably a better. You got 3 seconds to hook them and 30 seconds to get them in the net. And they're going to switch, and that imagery that they see better be consistent from Facebook to Instagram to YouTube to Twitter, whatever it is, and however you're getting to your specific market. And that's what has made this so important in recent history as we migrated away from the more traditional broadcast channels to these very narrow, short-term channels on social networks. And again, it makes ever more important that brand document that we talked about just a few minutes ago. And again, it doesn't have to be 50 pages, but 3 pages. What is your main image? What is your main logo? And what is your main message? What's your tagline? So.
Mm-hmm. We want to create an ongoing stream of story-centric content that reflects and strengthens your brand image. So here we have core values, which you need to identify your core values for your company. And that breaks off into identity. So you need to create and update your identity so you know who you are, what you're representing to the world through your brand. Here we have a core message. You need to develop and refine your core message and get that combination of identity and core message combine into brand messaging. These are your marketing efforts. Over time, you get results. You check out those results and analyze them, refine them, and repeat. So we have this loop going on over here. This is the part where you're just starting out and you're figuring out who you are and what you want to say. And here's where you're saying it and refining it.
So I'm going to give you some recommendations when it comes to your core values and core message. Limit your core values on your first try. Limit your core values to a total of 15 words. And what I mean by that is it should be either 3 sentences with a maximum of 5 words or 5 sentences with a maximum of 3 words, 15 words total. And the reason I'm going to recommend that is because you need to be as precise as possible. So you need to have thought about these things. You need to have sat down over a cup of coffee and started making notes. And in the end, you have 15 words, 3 lines or 5 lines, 3 lines of 5 words, 5 lines of 3 words that express to you what your core values are, and you need what effectively will become your tagline, your core message. I recommend a core message in the 5 to 7 word length. It doesn't necessarily have to be your tagline, but you need to have a good idea, because eventually those core values and that core message will become your elevator speech, and that elevator speech will get the opportunity to play out on a lot of different social channels. That is influenced by your brand message. Now, the messaging is going to develop out even further because it's going to be more expansive than this. But I can tell you that every time Shelley and I sit down and build a promotional message for Videotero, it is done in the construct of digital media, video-based digital media marketing and consulting. And that's where our core values are. That turns into our tagline and our message, and that drives the messaging that we send out to the marketplace. We don't try to be anything else to anybody else. We do one thing really, really well, and it's defined in our core values and our core messaging. And I'm going to say, if you haven't done this, sit down. It's not hard to do, but sit down and see if you can get it down to those 15 words in that one sentence that'll turn out to be your tagline. It's not hard, and you should be able to do it.
Number 5, promote positive associations. So here we see happy people, and what are they doing? They're giving your company a thumbs up. Maybe they're on social media giving you a thumbs up on Facebook, or maybe they're at TripAdvisor or Yelp saying how great you are. But here is an ad that is visual, and it is relevant to people of this age. And it has value and character and the ability to serve, engage, and move people. So this is what you want to represent. You want positive associations with your brand. You want people to think happy thoughts when they see your brand up on the screen.
That's why some of the online services like Yelp and the new version of Yellow Pages and a couple of others that I could name are so important, especially to restaurants, hotels, etc. But it's important for you to have your prospective market understand that you're easy to do business with. And easy to do business usually means you create a positive emotional environment for your prospective clients. So one of the ways to do that quickly is to have short video testimonials from your clients so that they can say, I really like doing business with these guys. They're very good. We always ask our clients for testimonials. And we try to record them on video if we can. If not, we get at least something in writing so that we can put it on our website, and we get a picture of them, usually standing next to Shelley, because everybody smiles when they do that. So we take advantage of that. But that's what you want, a sense of, and again, you're dealing with people's emotions, a sense of clarity, consistency, credibility, all of that in the images and the videos that you're producing to reach out to your prospective client base.
Okay, so we're going to show you a little bit more about positive associations with Toms. Many people know about Toms. When you purchase a pair of shoes from Toms, they will help a person in need one for one. So here you see the children that are being helped with the free shoes because you bought shoes. These kids have shoes as well. And in the words of their CEO, people connect with us because buying Toms is like a badge that says, I did something for someone. And they make it easy. So how easy it is when you buy Tom's shoes to be able to help people in need.
You know, one of the things about growing up during the period that I did, I'm a boomer, I'm a baby boomer, and we as boomers tended to separate our spending from our social activism. You know, not that we weren't social active. We were a generation that was very social active, but we disassociated the two. More and more companies like Tom's and what's that sock company? Boba are enabling, especially the millennials, to participate in these social active programs represented by the company just by buying the product. And you make two choices. Do I like the product, and do I like what they represent in terms of social activism? So if you have an opportunity like that, you should consider it because it doesn't fit a lot of companies, but it can be very valuable to those companies from a branding perspective to be recognized as not only a heck of a product company, but a heck of a socially active company as well.
And that provides that positive association that people think, you know what, I need a pair of shoes and I'm going to go to Tom's because they help people.
Panza llena, corazón contenta.
Sí. Zapatos.
Zapatos.
I hope that today's vlog helped you to have a positive feeling in association with Videotero.
And if not, come on over and we'll make you some green chili stew.
Or we'll buy some shoes. So if you'll go to our Facebook page and like us there, and also investigate our YouTube channel, and you'll see a lot of our products. We have a whole great variety of video products that we can create, not only for ourselves, but for our clients as well. Anything else?
Good show.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching today for Videotero's weekly vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye-bye.